Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's Diego with the beautiful Karina, my lovely prometida, who is in Bogota, Colombia. And I am here in the panhandle of Florida, near Pensacola, waiting for our K1 visa to get adjudicated at the Service Center in California. And our NOA-1 letter was dated April 18th, 2022, so we're still waiting. And Karina lives in Bogota, Colombia, although she's originally from Caracas, Venezuela. She's a legal resident of Colombia. Now this video is about the Declaration of Financial Support, how to fill out Form I-134. Now don't overthink this form, ladies and gentlemen. Don't confuse yourself. Don't stress it. It's easy to fill out. So come on along and I'll give you a brief overview on how to do it. USCIS Form I-134 has replaced the Affidavit of Support Form I-134. So the I-134 is now called the Declaration of Financial Support. And you, Mr. Sponsor, including myself, when I fill out this form, you will give it to your beneficiary, you will sign it with your full name, and you're going to try to get the original copy to her, okay? And when you sign this form, Mr. Sponsor, Ms. Sponsor, including myself, what you're telling immigration, the consular officer at the embassy, is that you have the sufficient financial resources to take care of your future husband or wife, okay? At this stage. And you got to show 100% that you meet 100% of the minimum income requirements at this stage, okay? And make sure that you are using the correct version, the correct edition, the correct month. Make sure the form has not expired, all right? So what you're doing is you are agreeing to financially support your beneficiary, okay? And you must also remember this. You must submit a separate I-134 for your beneficiary and for any of her children or his children. So if there are 3 people, if you got a K1, a K2, and two kids on a K2, you're going to have 3 forms that you have to fill out and sign. Very important. So the Declaration of Financial Support is 13 pages long, and you must sign, okay, this form at the end, okay? If you don't sign it, it's going to be rejected, and you cannot use a like a stamp or a photo or an auto pen. You have to use a black ink pen and sign it in the ink, okay? Now, if you cannot get the original form to your beneficiary signed by you, Mr. Sponsor, Ms. Sponsor, according to USCIS rules and regulations, they will consider a photocopied, faxed, or scanned copy. Let me repeat that. They will consider. So it's going to be all on the consular officer at the embassy in whatever country it is your beneficiary is at. Because when USCIS says they will consider something, that means they could unconsider it too. So in order to avoid any problems, get the original signed I-134 to your beneficiary. You must also submit, Mr. Sponsor, Ms. Sponsor, all requested evidence to back up your I-134, okay? If you do not submit the evidence that's requested, and I'll explain it at the end of the video, USCIS will probably deny or reject your application right there in the consular office, okay? So make sure you give your beneficiary all of the financial evidence that you will include with this I-134 to back up everything you say when you fill out this form, okay? Now I'm going to go ahead and explain to you how to fill this form out now. It's very easy, don't stress it. So you got to answer all the questions fully and accurately. Don't leave any blank spots on this form, okay? If the question does not apply to you, for example, if you've never been married, okay, and the question asks to provide the name of your current spouse, you're going to put N.A. So if it doesn't pertain to you, put N.A., okay, unless otherwise directed. For example, you could put none in a spot. If there's, if they ask you a question on how many or a quantitative number and you have none, you're going to put none. Type it out or write it in black ink. Very important. Okay. So now let's go ahead and start the form. Let me show you how to fill out this form. And we're going to start with part 1, which is the basis for filing. Okay. And the basis for filing this form is that you are a sponsor and you want to bring your beneficiary to the United States and her children or his children so that you can marry your beneficiary within 90 days and start your lives together. Okay? So let's start with this page 1 of this form. On page 1 of 13, using the correct edition and the recent non-expired form, check the date, okay? Check the date. You're gonna, Mr. Sponsor, Miss Sponsor, you're gonna put an X in block 1, another individual who is the beneficiary. Okay, you are filling out this form, Mr. Sponsor, Miss Sponsor, for your beneficiary. So you're gonna put an X in block another individual who is the beneficiary. Then you're going to fill out his or her information, the beneficiary's legal name, okay? Has she or he used any other names, like nicknames? You're going to put in the block date of birth, her date of birth or his date of birth, and the city or town where he or she was born, and the country and the state or province. Like Karina, my prometida, was born in Caracas, Venezuela, and that's in the Miranda province, okay? That's page 1. All about the beneficiary so far, not you, Mr. Sponsor. Now we're going to be on page 2, part 2, okay? Page 2, part 2, information about the beneficiary. And you're going to put in this block where she lives. Where does he live? Okay? Street number, city or town, and the province. So Karina lives in Bogota, Colombia. The province is DC, District of Columbia. And the postal code is this, and then the country is Colombia. Okay, and she lives on the 4th floor of an apartment complex. So where it says street number and name, I put an X in the box for FLR and number 4. Okay, so you're going to fill out the beneficiary's address. And then when you get to anticipated length of stay, look on that form right here. It says beneficiary's anticipated length of stay. Well, I would put in there a date 30 days after your face-to-face visa interview. So if your visa interview is on December 1st, 2023, I would put in there January 1st, 2024 as the from date. And then you put a little X in the box that says no end date. Okay, because your beneficiary is going to be your future husband or wife. They're not coming back to their home country, and you're going to get married, so there's no end date for the return. That would only be filled out if this was being used for a B2 tourist visa. Now we're on page 3 of 13, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Beneficiaries' financial information. Now, you're going to put in there your beneficiary's name. My beneficiary's name is Karina. I put her date of birth in there, and then I put relationship is beneficiary. Okay, relationship to the beneficiary is she's my beneficiary. And then if your beneficiary has any children on the K2, you're going to list them underneath that. And what is her income going to be? What is her contribution going to be? 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Okay. Everything is going to be 0 on this page, and then you add up the number of people in the K2. If there's one person, it's going to be number of dependents 1. If there's 2 people on a K2, number of dependents will be 2, etc., etc. It's easy, guys. You can do this. Page 4 of 13, part 2, information about the beneficiary continued. Okay, what are the beneficiary's assets? What are the assets of your future husband or wife who lives in Ecuador, Peru, Nigeria, Uganda, Congo, wherever? It's going to be 0, okay? Just put 0, okay? Current cash value, 0. Total US dollars, 0. And then we move on to part 3, information about the individual agreeing to financially support the beneficiary, named in part 2. So now, this is all about me, all about you, Mr. Sponsor. Okay, so in part 3, you're going to put your name. So I'll put my last name, my first name, middle name, and then I got my nickname, Diego, and my current mailing address. Where do I live? That goes in on page 4 of 13. Very easy, simple stuff. Page 5 of 13 is going to be part 3, information about the individual agreeing to financially support the beneficiary. It's all about me on this page. What's my physical address? Well, it's the same. My physical address is the same as my mailing address. And then they're going to ask me for my date of birth, where I was born, the state or province I was born in the country. And then they ask for my alien registration number. Well, I don't have one of those. USCIS online account number. I don't have that. And what is my immigration status? I'm a U.S. citizen. I have to be in order to apply for this K1 visa benefit for my beautiful Prometida. And then it asks me for, there's other blocks here. What's your alien number, etc. Other explain. NA, NA, NA. Fill those blocks in. NA. Don't forget to check the X that you are a U.S. citizen. Page 6 of 13 is about me. Oh, you, Mr. Sponsor, Miss Sponsor, what is your employment status? Are you employed full-time, part-time, self-employed, unemployed, retired? What is it? See, I'm employed full-time as a real estate agent, so I put an X in employed full-time, and then I put the name of my real estate broker, his name and address in here, okay? And what's his address? Right here, number 13, page 6, my employer's address is here. And then they're asking me questions about financial information. So I'll put in there my full name. This is part 14, number 14, my full name, date of birth, and then self, okay, self. And what is my income contribution to my beneficiary? Well, whatever I make in a whole year, that's going to be my income contribution. So whatever your annual income is, goes in part, on page 6, part 14. Okay, you got that? Now we're on page 7 of 13, and they're asking more information about me, the sponsor, you, Mr. Sponsor, Miss Sponsor. In in question 15, it asks, does any of the income listed above come from illegal activity? You're going to put no, because if you put yes, well, then you're going to need an immigration attorney to continue this form. Okay, so you're going to put no. You don't get any illegal dollars coming into your bank. You can account for every penny that goes into your bank. And then page 17, assets. You can list your assets in here. You're going to click on that little down arrow. You see that little down arrow? Click on there with your mouse and then fill in the information. Real estate holdings, checking account, savings account, etc. Okay? And then below that, it asks, do you have financial responsibility for other beneficiaries? Well, if you have sponsored somebody in the past and they live in the United States and they are a permanent resident of the United States, and even if you're divorced or whatever, they're still your responsibility, and you have to include them on this form of page 7 of 13. Page 8 of 13, number 21, intent to provide specific contributions to the beneficiary. You're going to check I intend. A little X goes in the I intend to, take care of your beneficiary. And what I put in that little box would be, I intend to furnish room, board, medical insurance, full financial support with no end date. That's what I put, okay? Then below that, there's the beneficiary statement. Well, you're going to put NA in the block which asks for an interpreter, because you're filling the form out and you're speaking English, right? The beneficiary's contact information, I put Karina's cell phone number and her email address. And then you come on to, that's page 8 of 13, and then on page 9 of 13, if you come down to number 6, it asks for the beneficiary's signature. He does not sign this form. This is not about you, Mr. Beneficiary, Miss Beneficiary. This is about your sponsor, okay? So your sponsor is responsible for this form, not you. So you put in there NA, Mr. Sponsor. Now on page 9 of 13 also, they're asking questions about, in part 1 here, I as the individual agreeing to financially support my beneficiary certified that I can read and understand English. Put an X in that box. And then I put my contact information down there, my cell number, my email address. Okay? And then I put NA in the interpreter block because I don't need an interpreter because I speak English. Okay? Then we come over to page 10 of 13. Come on down to the signature block of individual agreeing to financially support the beneficiary. This is where you sign, Mr. Sponsor, Miss Sponsor. You sign your name and date it right there, your full name in ink. And then underneath that, it says interpreter's contact information. You're going to put NA, NA, NA. Okay, this is page 10 of 13. On page 11 of 13, it's asking you more questions. Who's the interpreter, the interpreter's mailing address, the interpreter's contact information, signature, etc., and preparer's full name. You're going to put NA, 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 NA in all those blocks. And then you come over to page 12 of 13, and it's asking for preparer's mailing address. Well, you filled this form out, not a preparer, and you've already included your address at the front of this form, okay? So you're going to put NA, NA, NA in all those blocks. NA, preparer's signature, NA. And then you come over to page 13 of 13, the last page, okay? And in here, you can, it's a part 8, additional information. If there's anything that you want to tell USCIS or the consular officer, the embassy actually, if there's anything you want to explain to the consular officer, you can use these little boxes as extra space, and just make sure that you identify the page number, the part number, and the item number that you want to explain more. Say, for example, that you don't have enough space to put in your beneficiary's complete full name. You could use one of these boxes. Let's say, for example, you don't have enough space to put in your beneficiary's complete address. You could use one of these boxes. Let's suppose you're working a second job and you want to tell the consular officer about it. You could put in that information in one of these boxes. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how to fill out the I-134 in the simplest, most easiest way I know how to explain it to you. I'm not an immigration attorney. This is not legal advice. This is to help you get through this process. It's not difficult, okay? And we will see you soon on an aeroplane flying to the United States of America with your K1 visa in your passport and your K2 visa in your kiddie's passport. Thanks for watching.
I'll be back.